What's going on, guys? This is Lior and welcome back to my channel. Now, in this video, I thought I would tackle one of the age-old questions in the real estate industry. Should I go do my next project as a rental or should I go flip it? Now, you probably know and you've probably heard about how rentals create substantial amount of wealth and cash flow over time, but you've also seen flipping. You've probably watched some of the TV shows and you've seen just how much money you can make in a kind of a short duration period of time. So if you're thinking about going into your next project or your first project, whatever it is, and you're deciding between those two avenues, do I go buy a rental property or do I start and go into the flipping area? I thought I would create this video talking about from the perspective of your financial strategy, your current incomes, as well as from a market risk perspective, the pros and cons of each strategy, and how to decide which strategy is the right one for you and your journey. So if that's a question you're kind of debating right now in your head, make sure you stay tuned for the rest of the video. I'm also going to include an example of how I decided the path for myself, and make sure you comment below in the videos. Not only does it help the YouTube algorithm, but we can also talk about the different pros and cons and debate because there is no right answer when it comes to these topics. So with that, let's get at it. What's going on, guys? This is Lior and I'm a real estate investor out of Boston, and I'm excited to do this video tackling that age-old question of rentals versus flipping property. Now, before I get into that, super quick, if this is your first time on my channel, first of all, welcome. Second of all, make sure you smash that subscribe button for me. Helps me out with the YouTube algorithm, helps me put out more videos. I put out tons of new videos every single week talking about everything under the sun in terms of rental property investing, building your portfolio, personal finance as it comes to real estate, and so much more. So if that's the kind of content you're looking for and you're kind of sick of the same old mainstream stuff and you want some new ideas, make sure you smash that subscribe button, and that way you'll be notified every time I do a new video. So as I said, I'm gonna tackle this video first by talking about rental versus flipping from a personal and financial strategy perspective. And then I'm also gonna tap it off by talking about it from a market and a market risk perspective. So the first thing you need to understand about rentals versus flipping is, first of all, they're both super intense businesses, right? There is no shortcuts in real estate. Any path you choose in real estate is gonna take a lot of work. But one of the main differences between these two avenues is the schedule or distribution of cash flows. And here's what I mean by that. If you're gonna be going into the rental property game, you need to understand that your quote unquote profit, right, is gonna come every single month as you collect rent, pay off the mortgage, and pay your expenses, right? It's gonna come like a monthly income stream. Whereas on the flipping side, it's not really a monthly business. It's more of just a, hey, I'm gonna go tackle this project. It's gonna take me X amount of months, and then I'm gonna liquidate everything and squeeze out all the profit. So why does that matter? Well, it matters because you need to figure out, first of all, what are your current income sources and how are your financials currently structured, right? And here's what I mean. If you currently have a job, let's say you're W-2 employed, or maybe you're a 1099 self-employed, or you're in sales or something like that, right? You already have some sort of pretty consistent income stream coming on. Versus maybe you might be in the position where you don't have a current job and you're looking to get a brand new business off the ground. Now, these are two very drastically different situations, right? Because if you're in the first bucket where you already have an income source, you already have a job, you already, whatever it is, right? Or you're 1099, right? You already have monthly consistent income coming in. You don't want to mess that up, right? I mean, you never want to destroy your first income source to create a second one. That makes no sense. So in that regard, supplementing that first income stream with additional monthly income, like from a rental property, makes a lot of sense. Now, if you are, for example, not employed currently, or you don't have a consistent monthly income stream, and you're looking to launch a brand new business where you can really sink all your time in, well then maybe flipping does make sense for you, because as I'm going to talk about in a little bit, flipping is a much more daily intensive endeavor. And here's what I mean with that. When you're gonna be in the flipping business, and by the way guys, I've done both flips and rentals, so I can speak from both angles. When you're in the flipping business, it is a very intensive daily activity and daily schedule kind of business, right? You have to meet with contractors on site every day, make sure they're showing up. make sure they're doing the proper work. You gotta be dealing with vendors every single day, ordering the proper materials, making sure your supply chain is tight, right? It is literally a very intense daily activity sort of business. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not like rentals are by any means a joy, a walk through the park or anything like that. But, on the rental side, it's a little bit less intense, right? You don't need to be on site on your property every day, especially if you're buying a stabilized property that's already leased out, or if you're buying, or if you're leasing something out once it's leased out. There's not really that much to do, right? I mean, most of my rentals, I'll maybe stop by once a month or a couple times a month at most. Just make sure everything's going smoothly. But it's not like I have to meet contractors on site every day. It's not like I have to go call Home Depot or other suppliers and make sure my materials are coming in every day, right? Because that's what flipping requires. It's a very intense supervision type of business where you're managing contractors, you're managing vendors, and it requires a ton of work every single day. So that's why I was saying, if you've already got an income stream or you already got a job that's paying you on a consistent monthly basis, that may not necessarily be the best move for you, because going into a flip is gonna sink up a crap load of your time. And what happens then is you're in danger of your current or main income stream slowly drying up, or you're gonna start underperforming. And you definitely don't want that to happen. Now again, with rentals, by no means am I saying there's no effort required, right? I mean, I run a pretty big portfolio and I can tell you there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but by no means do I need to be on site every single day, meeting with contractors, calling a Home Depot and all that stuff that I talked about earlier. Now, here's the other reason why. If maybe you've already got some sort of income stream or a main job or whatever it is, here's another reason why you probably shouldn't go into flipping. Is flipping needs to be a full-time business, or you're not gonna be successful. And here's what I mean by that. The guys that are, the guys or the gals, the flippers that I know that are the most successful in my marketplace do really high volume of flips every single year. And the reason for that is not only because more volume equals more money, but more volume also erases mistakes, right? And here's what I mean. If you, let's say you already have a job and you're gonna go flip, and your goal is to go flip 1 or 2 homes a year. What you probably don't know, and what you'll learn as you go, is that in the flipping business, let's say you buy 10 houses, most good flippers know of those 10 houses, maybe there's 4 really good homes that are, you're gonna make really great money on. There's probably gonna be 3 homes that are kind of decent homes because, some surprise comes up and, it erodes at your profit margin. And then there's probably gonna be 2 or 3 homes as well that, you find something terrible and it's completely gonna blow up your renovation budget. And maybe you break even, or maybe you even lose a little bit of money on 1 or 2 of those projects. Now, if you're not doing a heavy volume of flipping, right? If you're only, say, gonna do 1 or 2 flips a year, can you make money? Absolutely. But the risk that you're gonna run into, let's say, a rotten egg of a deal is pretty high if you only got 2 deals, right? The guys that are or gals that are doing 10, 15 deals, if they hit 2 or 3 bad projects, they'll write it off, right? Because they've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 other really good projects that they're gonna make money on. But if you're only doing this as like a side hustle or side business, and again, if you're only gonna do 1 or 2 flips, and one of them turns out to be a rotten egg, that's really gonna hurt your financials. So that's what I mean, for the flipping wise, you really gotta do high volume, and you really gotta make it your main business, your priority income stream, if you're really gonna do it successfully. Now, talking about it from a market perspective too, the thing you gotta understand about flipping is, as a flipper, you are gonna be at the mercy of the real estate market, right? And and a really good example of this is COVID. I know a lot of flippers that last year were really excited to put their renovated product on the market come the springtime, and then boom, February, March hit, COVID all of a sudden hit. And as a lot of you guys know, the real estate markets kind of froze up for a while, right? I mean, there was a lot of panic in the market. People weren't sure what to do. There wasn't a ton of sales activity. Cities, for example, pricing tanked in the city. So I know a lot of people that were flipping in Boston, where I'm from, they ended up holding the eggs on some really nice product, because all of a sudden that buyer pool decided they didn't want to buy in the city, and they actually, with coronavirus, now they want to go buy in the suburbs. So you're really at the mercy of the real estate market, right? Because your whole business model revolves around going in and getting out as soon as possible. So if there's a shift in the marketplace, that's gonna hurt you quickly and harshly. Now, from a rental property perspective, again, I am mainly in the rental property game today. I used to flip back then. I didn't really feel that as much, right? I mean, sure, the rental market definitely slowed down a little bit. And yeah, it took me a little bit longer to fill up some units that may normally have gone faster. But for the most part, my financials really weren't that impacted, right? Now, some landlords obviously got hit because of the laws regarding evictions. If that happened to you, obviously you're gonna feel the impacts of the market. But for the most part, unless unless your tenants all of a sudden couldn't afford to pay rent, besides maybe just a little increased vacancy and longer times on the rental market, your financials really weren't impacted too hard, right? Values for the most part more or less stayed the same. Rentals, rental values, maybe the decrease by 5-10% at most. If your numbers are good when you buy rental property, that really shouldn't hurt you that much. And that's really one of the main reasons why I love the rental property game, because being able to sit on these properties for longer periods of time allows you to wash out any corrections in the market. Also allows you to wash out any mistakes you make, right? Even if I have a renovation I need to make it in one of my rental properties and I overspend by a little bit, it's not like I'm selling the property tomorrow or in a month, right? I'm not gonna feel that for probably another 5 years, right? And by the time that 5 years rolls around, that market's, the property's gonna appreciate in value. It's gonna be a completely different market. And I'm not gonna feel the effects of those mistakes as much as if I was a flipper. So to wrap everything up, I thought I would give you an example of how I kind of structured my businesses and how I kind of view it from my perspective. So, like I said, I did a couple of flips when I first started. I didn't really like it because I was also a real estate broker. And I've been really focusing on trying to grow my real estate brokerage, both my team as well as my personal clientele business. And for me, going into the flipping game just takes away from that, right? It just takes away from me being able to really focus and grow and get really honed down on growing out that business. So rather than spend time on flipping, I decided to concentrate my time on growing out my brokerage business, while at the same time also growing out my portfolio, right? Because I found that by growing out my rental portfolio, I can increase my balance sheet over time, right? So my net worth has gone up substantially. Plus, I'm creating more monthly income sources, right? So now on a month-to-month basis, I'm taking home much more money than I ever was. And I'm fine, and I like that much more than, trying to go into a property and squeeze out every single penny within a couple of months, right? It just makes sense based on the way my income is structured and my businesses that I'm in. Now, again, I do want to reiterate that, owning rental property and especially growing out a large rental property portfolio. Right now, as of the date of this recording, I'm at 35 units, $11 million portfolio. I can tell you it certainly takes quite a bit of work as well. But again, remember those advantages I talked about in rentals versus flipping. I don't need to be necessarily on site every day, right? Because during the day, I like to really focus a lot of my efforts on clients for the brokerage business and really growing out. But I don't need to be on site meeting with contractors, dealing with vendors. I have partners like property managers. I have a partner in my business on the rental property side as well. And I'm able to kind of structure everything out so I have enough time in the day for both businesses without getting overwhelmed. So hopefully that helps, guys. Hopefully that kind of starts to put some perspective in how you should structure your real estate businesses, which avenue makes sense for you based on your current financials, based on your current income sources, and everything in between. So if you guys have any questions, just shoot them below.